Hey, Tracy. Hey, Kate. I'm enjoying the sun today, if it doesn't get me too burned. How about you guys? Heat up here again pretty soon. I'm not sure we're gonna get a lot of people on tonight because of it was kind of short notice. So I was just sitting there watching TV, and I'm like, I'm bored. I haven't done one of these in a while, so I decided to get on here and do one for a YouTube video and see what's up with everybody. I'd be surprised if I get a lot of people on here though. It's good to see you guys too. Hi, Sandy. Hi, Yvette. Does anybody have any questions today? I'm just hanging out there, just grabbing some sun. So where's everybody from today? Where's everybody coming from today? Illinois, Virginia. Oh, those lights that were called in my house. Tracy's asking. Um, Sorry, I tried to touch this. Hi, Sunny from Centerville, Georgia. Those lights that are in my house, I think those. I can't remember what they're called. I ordered them, but I put them on my. I just post them on there when I'm doing lives, and instead of just looking at my boring walls, something different. It just kind of gives it like a different. I mean, I don't know, a different look with the different colors that go on it. I guess. I don't think I've ever been to Virginia or Georgia. I've been to Illinois, Chicago. No, thank you. Okay. I don't. If I can figure out what the name of it is, I'll try to remember and say it on my page. I, but yeah, I can't remember the name of it offhand. I bet. Never. Georgia looks like it's always beautiful. I think we landed in Atlanta, Georgia, to go to Florida. I think that's where the only time I've been to Georgia, but not really been there. That's a big airport. Yvette saying, what does it mean when my, I think she meant husband, passes away? I was holding his hand. I'm sorry, I was holding his arm when he passed. and I felt cold shivers from my head to my toes. I think it means I'm assuming that meant that his soul was probably leaving his body at the time, and you might have felt his soul before he crossed over. That's what I would assume what that would mean. And he might have been touching you or went by through you. That's what I would look at that. Bugs everywhere in this yard. You're welcome. Yeah, sometimes if you're with somebody that's passed away, they're gonna find ways. Sometimes they'll find ways of let you know that they're gonna go. So you hear those different stories. Some are more different than others, but when I hear a story like that, that would just tell me he's touching you just to let you know he's okay and that he's ready to cross over. And I think that's what you're feeling, that quote, his soul before he went across to the other light. And it's not a bad thing. Um, will God judge anybody that's an atheist? I don't know, Tracy. I'm not God, and even as a medium, I don't pretend to be God. Like some mediums you'll hear will say, everybody gets what do you call gets reincarnated, or everybody goes to heaven. There's no hell. I don't know God's ways, and I don't know any of that stuff, so I'll never pretend to know God's ways. Um, I honestly I don't know if I've ever connected with anybody that was an atheist because I don't ask people on the other side what their religion was or what their belief is. I never really, I guess it wasn't my thing to ask. It never came up. But if I have, then maybe God does have a lot of sympathy for those people. I don't know. Um, I do know for what I have been told, they're the people that go to lower realms are the people um, that they're really evil doer people, the sociopaths, narcissists, the psychopaths, the ones that like to divide people, um, and also with those kind of people are the ones that don't believe in God. I mean, I think that goes hand in hand, but I don't know where atheists go. I don't really know. Family that has passed and my baby dog Smokey, do they around forever or visit? I believe. Okay, so get this. All right. So after my dog passed away, I had my older dog. If any of you guys remember my older dog, he was Jake, and he passed away. He was 17. It was a really hard time for me that week, for a few weeks over that. But when I finally did a reading on it, I asked, because I know I've seen where dogs go when they die. There's a place where they go, and I asked my spirit guide. He goes, "Is my dog's soul in heaven?" And it said, "Your dog." I mean, basically, what he was trying to. My spirit guide was telling me is that humans have souls. Animals have it's like an energy, but they're not really called souls, if that makes sense. Because a soul is kind of like made in God's image, so, and we're when we're a lot like God. So animals have like an energy, and it's like a soul. But they wait for us on the other side for us, and there's a big dog park over there for them too. And sometimes your family members are taking care of your pets on the other side. And I do believe they do visit us because on the second day after my dog passed away, I was going to do in-person readings at this place called Barzan Books and Billions, and that song came on Feed Jake, and my dog's name was Jake, and I had to pull over because I knew that was meant for me. I mean, I can't explain that, so they have ways of saying they're okay. I don't know if that was Jake's energy. I don't, or it could have been my spirit guide or a family member just saying that he's okay. But I believed it was meant for me, and I was okay with that. But I've heard stories that people have seen muddy paws come in their kitchen after their dogs passed away. They can see, you can see the imprint like when they're laying next to people in bed. So I do believe that. So yeah, your animals I believe are on the other side, and the whole thing about you know the the Rainbow Bridge is actually true. The animals do cross that bridge, especially our pets. So yeah, they're always on the other side. I had to get my dog's ashes yesterday, and that was kind of hard for me. So, um, but I just wait for his presence, and I want to believe that he's going to visit me one day, and I think he will. I think he's having a lot of fun up there with other dogs and stuff, but I think they do visit us when they can. Their energy. And if people want to call them their spirits, I'm okay with that. I'm kind of the same way. I mean, I'll probably say animal spirits the same thing, because but my spirit guide kind of set it down for me. Like, humans have spirits, animals have like energy that's like a spirit, but humans are like, we're made in God's image. That's why it's like that. That makes sense. It took me a minute to figure out what he was talking about. Hi, Heather. Oh, I'm so sorry, Sandy. And I've heard stories too that some people will hear their animals barking from a distance, and you always know your dog or cat's meow or bark, and it always seems like it's a distance. And I believe in that. Um, I'm yet to hear mine yet, but I do believe in that. My spirit guide told me that my little one, my other dog, will let me know when my other dog Jake's around. So I've been waiting, but you know, I'll go to bring this little one outside to use the bathroom, and I left Jake's collar down near his bed, so he always stops, and almost like he greets Jake by smelling his collar, and then goes outside. So it was his way of dealing with it, and I've been walking him a lot so we can deal with this together. No, I don't try to deceive people. Whoever's saying that, I don't tell anybody to believe what I believe. That's not my thing. You believe what you guys want to believe. I'm not going to say what is right and what is true. I mean, you guys, everybody's got their own belief system. But if people are coming on here asking questions about and I'm going to share my experiences and I'm also going to share, what I've been trained in. I got certified in this, so I'm going to share in other stories. So I don't tell anybody what to believe or what not to believe. That's not where I go. But I will answer people's questions the best of my ability of what I know. Well, if you look for truth, that's good. Everybody should look for truth. Hi, Kathy. And animals are very sensitive to other spirits. They do see, people crossed over that come to visit. They also see, they, especially cats. I know they're really sensitive as well. If you watch your animals, the way they look at the corners of the wall or look up at something that's not there, you're gonna know that there's something, something's there. And it's another sign that your loved ones are trying to visit you and saying that they're around. And I truly believe that. Yeah, I'll never be one of those mediums that are going to tell you, this or that. I mean, that was weird, but I'll never tell anybody that, this is going to be right or that's going to be right, or this is the truth. I don't know. I just tell people what I know, and that's why hi, Kathleen, and that's why we all have that free will. Probably was a glitch, matrix glitch. Who knows with this stuff on here? But I know sometimes when I do these lives on this YouTube, it does. I always seem to come back, and it always comes back again. I don't know what's going with YouTube. Any suggestions on how to better connect with your guides or pass over loved ones? I would say, for me, I meditate, and if you can learn to meditate every day and clear your mind and not let it get jumbled with too much going on with the daily stuff and everything going on, if you can learn to meditate and keep your mind quiet, sometimes I've called them my spirit guides, I've called them my loved ones, and I do see them, but you're gonna have to accept what you're seeing. You're gonna automatically think, well, no, that's my imagination. You start doing that, you're blocking off that communication. So at first, when you start practicing that, you're gonna, just accept it. Other times, I'll tell people right before you go to bed, ask them to come to visit you at night. Say their first and last name, and say, "Can you come and visit me tonight in my dreams?" And if you keep doing that, after a while, they'll also visit you in dreams. And I've had that happen, and I tell people to do that, and that helps them as well. What was the other question I hear? Same with guides. There are videos you can try, and I think a lot of those books and videos will tell you basically the same thing, just to meditate, and they go through step to step to kind of get you to just to visit your guide. And one thing about I've learned about spirit guides is that it takes a long time, and everybody's different how they develop. But I think it's more of a development stage with people spiritually. But if you get to that point, I think that's when you're going to start connecting with your spirit guide. They just don't show up. If you can learn to practice doing those things after a while, your spirit guide or your loved ones will show up. Spirit guides just for some reason seem to take longer. Hi, Darlene. So, Kathy, I have a good friend that works in hospice, and really close friends. So it's interesting that when we have me and him have our conversations about, how people, he's worked in this field for like I don't know, 8 or 10 years, and he loves doing it. But we communicate back and forth about these kind of subjects. And what I've always been told in a lot of my readings is that when these people with dementia or Alzheimer's, during their last times, they're not crazy. They're really seeing what they're seeing. Many of them are experiencing things. Some of the stuff is scary to them. They might react and kind of freak out a little bit. That doesn't mean that they're seeing anything dark. It's just because they don't know what they're seeing. They might be seeing another dimension. They might be seeing their family. And to us, if they're freaking out, we might be saying, "Oh no, what are they seeing? Is it something evil?" It's not always evil. It could be, they might be excited, and that's how their brain at that time is trying to deal with it. But their soul knows what they're seeing. Your soul and your brain are totally different. So I always tell people your brain is your ego. Brain is the one that creates the fear, the overthinking, the negative thoughts. That's the ego. Then your soul is something that doesn't. That's your soul is totally different from that, and you'll understand that the more you learn to meditate. You work with your soul better than you would work with your brain. And I just know those two never work together, but they do see a lot of that. And some of these spirits do come to visit these people just to let them know, soon you're going to be moving into another dimension, and you're going to be transitioning, and just trying to explain that to them so they understand. And I've heard a lot of stories that these people are really happy towards the end, like during their times before they cross over as well. Like they look forward to it, and it's kind of a good thing to know that your mom or your grandpa, or somebody that you're close to in this life, is going to help you cross over, and that you're never alone. And so many times my readings will also tell me that, when it was like the transition is so easy. It's not like it's nothing to be feared of. Like everybody's scared of what the unknown is. It's not that scary. It's like waking up and there you go. You just go into another reality. It's more, and I've also been told that that's for some reason that reality is more real than this reality, and I don't know what that means, but like you can think of being somewhere and you're going to be right there when you're on the other side. And you know, basically, it's kind of like that with their loved ones. They whatever they're at up there in a higher realm or heaven, they can think to be right here, and they're right here. Yes, people that work in that field, nurses mostly, I think, and also the people that work as hospice caretakers will all say the same thing. They may not always talk about it, but the majority of them have experienced even paranormal things during that time. I know I have when I seen my friend pass away. That really was interesting and really sad to me. But let's see here. Just like for instance, it was my old roommate when he lived in Billings and I lived in Billings, and I mean, he was like a good. We were close friends. We did everything together, and we had a time where we weren't talking and we are fighting, and that happens with roommates just like with friends. And um, one time I was walking my dog around the pond, and I live not too far from a pond around here, and I was walking my dog around the pond, and I'm like, I gotta call Monty. So I called him, and he said he wasn't doing so well, and I said, what's going on? He goes, well, that can't he had lung cancer, but he never smoked. But he goes, that lung cancer is back, and I think it's gotten worse. But and I said, okay, Monty, I'll be there, this week. And so, um, it was just a couple days later, I tried calling his house, and he wouldn't answer. So his sister answered, and I said, how's Monty doing? And she goes, not good. He's sleeping. So I went to visit with him, and I sat next to him, and I've never seen anybody die, and I guess it was a learning thing for me, especially the work I'm doing now. So I knew he was conscious, but I knew he wasn't. If that makes sense, like his breathing was going in and out, but I felt his presence there. I knew his spirit was near, and so I was kind of trying to talk with him about the old days and just laugh, and but I'm just bawling, I'm crying. You just can't help yourself. And then all of a sudden, his sister comes in and gives morphine. I think she put it under his lip or in his mouth a little bit, while and then all of a sudden I started watching him, and his breathing started going slower, and I could hear it gurgling. I was I felt like I needed to look up. I look up, and I'm not kidding you. I saw a white, bright beam of light, almost like you saw in Star Trek, and it was right there in the hall. And I seen two little long lights in front of it, and then it disappeared. And I knew that person. I knew that one was him, and I knew the other one was his dad, who passed away of lung cancer. And so I called the family, and we all prayed, for him. And then I knew he was gone. It was just it's just that barely, that I guess they call it the death rattle, and I had to get out of there. It was just too sad, but for me, I experienced that. I got to see him go into that light, and I knew that was him with his dad, and it was something I never forget. But I remember when I tried to wipe my face of tears, I didn't. It was like I never had no tears, but I knew I was bawling because I remember when I was crying, I could just see the tears weeping, but my face was dry. I can't explain any of that. To me, that's the kind of stuff that I can't explain. The supernatural stuff that usually happens sometimes with some caretakers or people that are with the loved ones that are ready to cross over, and it's interesting. Tracy's saying that she's noticed that there are many psychics and mediums on Facebook that don't pray before and after reading, and I've told people this many times. Like, if you're going to a psychic or a medium and they don't pray, ask them to pray, and if they don't pray, just I wouldn't even do it, because you don't know where some of these people are getting their messages from. And I've said this millions of times. In this community, or even in Montana, there might be less than a handful of people I trust that I might refer to people that I think are really good, and the rest of them are there's a lot of them that are wannabes. There's a lot of them that are fakes, and I'm not judging anybody, but there's some people I've watched them do readings to people, and they've scammed people, and they've lied to people, and I can't. And if I say something, it's going to ruin my reputation. So it's kind of like a miss with me. But there have been many times I've confronted those psychics, or I confronted these mediums one on one on their page or in person, and they know where I'm at, because I'm like that. I'll tell them, I go, you did what you said was not even true, and you know that. And they're like, well, that's the message I got. And I go, that's because you're using your brain. That wasn't from spirit. So I mean, there's a difference, and they might think they're giving the right messages, but they're not. Some of them are not. Hi, Cynthia. And it's I've it's just hard when you like, if you're close to somebody, and I often wonder about, like, I know God has perfect timing, and I will never say I know his ways, but I don't know if I was meant to be there at that very moment, because when I remember when I talked to Monty's sister, she said he's probably going to go in a couple weeks, but I knew that day I had to get down there, and maybe it was God calling me. I don't know what it was, or maybe but it just seemed like he had to wait for me to be there. But it was in, but the good thing about it was it helped me to talk to him more and tell him I'm sorry to whatever I said to him, and I'm sorry that if I hurt him. So I get emotional, and I don't want to get like that when I talk over like this, but it was I needed to do that for me too, and I think he needed that before he was able to cross over, and I knew he forgave me, and it's vice versa, but that helped me quite a bit. And when you have somebody like on a deathbed like that, you should, if you ever had any like negative things that or any feelings to that person, just try to just say, I'm sorry. So here we go again. It's messing up with my feet again. But then people will end up coming to me, and I have to cross, and I have to connect with their spirits, so that another side, that they can get that, that connection, just to say that they're sorry. But some people hold on to that pain for too long, and it's not good to hold on to that pain. Anything on new baby Arden? And that's a tough one, honestly. Um, I've been helping her mom quite a bit, and I've been giving her mom validation. Like that first Zoom reading, as you guys watched, even with the dad right before that, I circled right where that baby was at, and there was no way, because if you look at that map I have in my house of that area, it's so tiny I can't see the words. So that's exactly where I went with my pendulum, and it circled it. So he validated it. He said this. He hasn't been in that area, but he thinks that. And I said I think it's around that cabin, but I want to say go a little bit north. But there's a lot of dark stuff that I believe that's going on in that area. I think that family that knows about art, and I think my opinion is that they know something, and are hiding something because of that guy that was with her. And what gets, and the investigators that get me upset about this whole thing is that they didn't investigate that crime very well, because supposedly that early in the morning, about, I don't know what, like 3 or 4 in the morning, the guy's out there shooting his gun, and then little Arden's out there. I don't, why is she out there? You question that. Why is the little girl out there that early in the morning? And he tells her to go back, supposedly. So and it takes them 6 hours to call the police. I can't understand that either. Well, when the cops and investigators of that BIA came and talked to him, the BIA thinks that a mountain lion or a big bear took that little girl. Okay, so here's the thing: if you're shooting guns out in the air, it's gonna scare the cats. It's gonna scare the bears away. They won't come around, and that's common sense. But then there's another story that they're saying, well, she probably fell into that river because her little shoe prints were close to the river, and her parents said that she would never go near that river. And the whole thing was, in my opinion, the whole thing is set up because even if it was a mountain lion, her clothes would have been all shredded up in other places. And I don't want to sound gory, but that's what would happen. But supposedly, some of her clothes were tossed in other areas in the woods, 2 miles away from where she was missing. One of her shoes, I believe, was found under a house. It just seems really, really weird. It doesn't make no sense. And I've got some. I'm not sharing other pictures or other things, but there's some other things that just I question everything about this because there's no way that little girl could have been, taken away like that. It's just odd. It doesn't make no sense. But I think, in my opinion, and the vision I got is when he was shooting that gun, I think he might have hit her, and I think he panicked, and I think that the family's trying to keep that covered up, and I honestly believe that they moved her body after. I mean, because they were getting so close to this. I don't know, but I do feel like she will get she's going to be found, and I hope there's justice for her. And it's horrible. Yes, Kathleen. Your loved ones do know when you think of talk about them, and I get this quite a bit. Every time we think of our loved one, they're literally right here. Like if you're thinking of them, they're right with you. You talk to them, they're right here, and it's that connection that you and that loved one always have. And anybody that knows that will understand that because if you're in your house and you're sitting there cooking dinner, and all of a sudden, um, the lights above you start blinking off and on after you start thinking about your loved one, and you're like, "What? How did that happen?" It's just things like that, and it's just their way of just saying they're here. And and if it is someone's birthday here today. Oh, happy birthday, whoever's birthday it is today. I don't know who that is. But I am also working on that other boy's case also. So I'm working with those two people that are missing right now. That other one is called Leo Wagner, and that one's gets dark too. And I will discuss more of that on my other page. I mean, sorry, yeah, my other page on Facebook. So I got distracted. There was a really cool looking bird here with a red head, little red head on his head. He looked at me and he took off. So who knows? That could have been a loved one. But I'm doing a Zoom reading on that one with his dad, um, sometime this week coming up, and find out what. And I'm having another psychic from Helen. It's just pretty good, and see what we can come together to find out what happened to him, and hopefully that it, can help that dad. I think he has some ideas, but there might be some more stuff coming up with this as well. I don't think it's related to the Arden case at all, but I think it might be related to somebody else that's also missing in that area, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. Okay, Ladonna said she bought a new home and it's over 100 years old. Her daughter woke up screaming. She saw like a black tornado on her wall. She saged and salt under her bed. I don't, and that's hard for me to understand that, Ladonna, because I wonder if that could be a portal, or if that's just an energy trying to scare her to eat. I mean, just to eat off of her energy. That's why she's laying there. If I were, if I were you, get a lot of salty water. And salt, I love using this because the salt and water are perfect for a lot of this stuff. And I mean, when I say salt, you use a lot of salt and put it like in a spray bottle, and you dilute that really good, and spray in those areas on that wall where that energy was, and just spray it really good. Spray it and spray it and spray the closets um, with that salt water if you can. Smudge that area, and just keep the window open while you're smudging it. It wouldn't hurt to smudge your house in case that thing is hiding somewhere else around your house as well. Thank you, Terry. Do we have a choice to be reincarnated? Again, Shirley, I don't know that. I don't want to ever answer that kind of questions like that because, like I said, God's, it's a lot of stuff that happens why we are, people are reincarnated. I believe are God's God's doings, like it's like His perfect timing. What I have been told is there, some people are reincarnated because, okay, for instance, we're on a path when we're born, we're on our own path, and if we choose the wrong path, or if our path gets cut off, many times we have to come back down to get reincarnated until we figure out, that problem. The lessons we're supposed to be learning, we're not learning them, and that's what we're here for. It's like a big classroom. Sorry, a big truck's coming. But if you do, I mean, but here's the weird thing. My teacher, my psychic teacher, said I was reincarnated a lot of times. So I was curious one time, and I sat down with my pen, and I asked my spirit guide. I said, how many past lives have I had? And it said over 400. I couldn't believe that. I'm like, I must have been really messing up so much in those lives. I haven't figured out what I was doing wrong. And I thought also, or it could be because I keep like I keep coming down here because I either enjoy this life or I like helping people. So I wonder that too. If it is true, then there might be a possibility that might be true as well. Did I ever see an old lady or a female ghost as a toddler? I probably have. I've probably seen so many damn things in my life I can't explain them. I've seen old old people ghosts. I've seen people who've crossed over. I've seen people who've committed suicide, and that's the worst one. I've seen um, I've seen little kids ghosts. I've seen demonic stuff trying to pretend to be little kids. I've seen Yeah, I've seen a lot of evil. I've seen a lot of good, but I try to stay with the good. I don't try to avoid. I don't deal with any of that dark stuff. Well, just teach your daughter about whatever she's seeing. Just tell her to keep praying to God. God's going to always protect her. Keep praying if she believes in God, keep the angels with her. Um, just can't, one of those. It's one of those things. Also, you want to get your kid closer to God. Keep her close to the Creator. Got to keep that going, that relationship. And the more closer you are, and more I believe, and the more closer we are to God and the Creator, the less these. I mean, yeah, they can scare us, but they ain't gonna touch. They can't touch us. That's just my opinion. Hi, Alberta. If you believe that is your husband and it doesn't feel like evil, then I would say that would be your husband. Yes. But it's one of those things. It's kind of similar to what we're just talking about. Like when you meet people who have addictions. Alcohol, they're on meth, or drug addiction, and then these kind of people always sometimes you hear their stories. Well, I've got shadow people in my house. I've seen a shadow person in my house, and that has nothing to do with your daughter. But I'm bringing a different example up, and it seems to be in a pattern where these people they went on the wrong path, if that makes sense. They're not with God the Creator. So and it's almost like these things just know, and they love torturing people, and it's very demonic and it's very evil. um but I during those kind of cases, like you always should always be turning to God, always be praying. He's the only one that's going to be able to deliver, I mean, help you with all that stuff. As humans down here, I mean, even I'm only limited to so much information to help people that are. I don't have all the answers to any a lot of this stuff. I just get what I get, and I share it with people because I hope it helps them. But there are some cases where it's just up to the individual, and that means that they need to get closer to God. Sometimes it's spiritual warfare they have to deal with, and they have to figure that out. Like if you're not close to God, or you're not praying every day, and praying for yourself, others, and strangers, then I don't, you kind of get further and further away from Him. I don't know, but I just kind of see that more of like a pattern with a lot of some of these issues. But always stay with God, and you won't go wrong. You never go wrong. These bugs are all out here today, driving me nuts. I have a bug zapper that comes on during the night, and I'm never out here during the evening, but we usually start turning it on when I'm out here. Now, somebody said they put black onyx in the corners of their bedrooms and stuff. That I think that does help. I was told some black stones are very, I mean, they kind of repel the negative. Now, understand that there are stones that you can wear around your neck, like obsidian, and I can't remember the other one. It's not onyx, but there's another one besides the obsidian one, and those are just for people who have a lot of anxiety, who are empaths that pick up on a lot of energy. That does not keep evil away. That will not keep darkness away, if that makes sense. All that does is just repel the negative energy. It doesn't mean that it's going to repel somebody that's malicious, a dark spirit, or anything like that. Yes, tourmaline, and the other one I just said. I'm sorry, I can't. My brain is dead today. So yes, those are the. And some people do put those kind of dark, those rocks on their windowsills, and if they help, then do it. I personally like using Saint Benedict metals that I put in holy water, and I put them on all my windowsills because I know for a fact that some of these things like to jump in windows, whether they be invited or not. And I used to also have them over my door frames, and I keep my windows have line of salt under them too. And I try to keep my property protected too. So I know I don't want that stuff around me, and and I have to always be cautious if I'm going into a place that's haunted as well, because I know that these things can follow you, especially then when you're open like this. So it's better to be safe than sorry. And I do carry certain things I believe help me. I mean, everybody's different. I always carry like rosaries in my pocket that are blessed. I keep Saint Benedict around my neck. I keep a cross with Jesus on my neck. Um, let's see what else I do. I mean, I take salt baths once a week because I want to clean my aura. Let's see, I'm trying to think. I pray constantly. I'm always meditating. I try to ground myself, and I'm always, like today I'm barefoot, walking in my yard because that's the kind of part of grounding that, we need to connect with the ground. We need to connect with that energy, and that's important because we're all connected somehow, and we're always walking around with our sandals or shoes. It's just, it's okay, but this is also really good to connect with the ground. So that also is a very good for a lot of people. You're welcome. So that's a good question, Kathleen. Kathleen's asking, when I do those readings, those live readings, are all the spirits coming forward? And there are times, Kathleen, when I'm sitting there, um, and I get nervous talking in front of people a lot of times, and I'll be real, unless I'm probably doing this kind of stuff, but there are times where I'll be sitting there and I feel like I'm getting bombarded, and I know that energy is coming from somewhere, and it's not from the computer, and so but I know that the people online want the readings, and I know those people over here want the readings, so everybody's anxious. And that's why sometimes when you see me doing those live readings, people will see orbs around me. And then there are times where I'll do a reading, and I feel like I'm doing a reading for a girl that wants me to connect with her dad, but it was actually for somebody else that was there, and the girl will say, well, that wasn't my dad, and then 2 minutes later, it happens all the time, and then someone will say, oh, that was my cousin you talked to. You were very accurate. So I don't know who's coming through, and I just give the messages. There's no line. It's kind of like that show Ghost. When they all jump inside of her, I don't let them jump in me, but it kind of reminds me of that. They're just all there. There's no line, and so I just kind of go with what the messages are flowing through. Sorry, stupid thing is doing that again. I don't know why some of these mediums or psychics don't share some of this knowledge, and that's important. This, spiritual stuff to protect people. I don't mind telling people. I'll go on for and how evil those kind of people. I'll talk about all the stuff that you can protect yourself from them, protect yourself spiritually from evil, and all that stuff. Whatever I can do. Probably, if your cat bit you and probably saw something, it probably freaked them out. Some cats don't know what they're seeing. It doesn't mean it's evil. It could just mean that they see different lights, or they might see something energy that we're not seeing. It might have freaked your cat out. It doesn't always mean it's evil either. Some of your pets will freak out and see stuff, and they won't know if it's a family member or if it's something evil. But either way, it's alerting you that somebody's around. I know some people jump to conclusions like that. They're like, "Oh my God, my cats are freaking out. They're seeing something. You know, they're blah blah blah. They're seeing something." And then when it turns out it wasn't what they think it is, I thought it was something dark or demonic, and it wasn't that. It was probably their mom visiting them or something. How do I help spiritual bindings such as exorcisms? I avoid them, and I'll tell you the reason why I avoid them, because I'm a medium and I'm always open. Your chakras are portals that we have on us, and for mediums and people who are empaths and stuff, we shouldn't be around that stuff because we're the ones that are going to be attacked more. And like I said, your chakras are portals, and I want to. If I ever, and I'll tell you a story, one of my stories in a minute. But if I'm around something like that, I don't want to be around it because I know that for a fact that that thing can jump me or it can, attach itself to me. No, 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 not for me. If somebody wants me to do a reading, like if a priest asks me, hey, say, hey, I want you to come and see what you pick up on this person. I will go and I'll look and I'll pick and I won't say anything. I'll just pick up what I'm getting, walk out of that house, and then outside I'll tell the priest. But I won't do it in front of that spirit because I know that spirit already knows I know, and I don't want that spirit to attack me if that makes sense because they can jump from one person to another, and I don't want that. So I've had really weird experiences like something similar to that in the past, and I don't know how to explain it. Um, I've seen evil in people. I've seen their eyes get black, like pure black, and they shouldn't be black. And I know there are contacts for that, but this is not. I mean, I've had this. I've had stuff like seeing this before they made those contacts when I was a kid, even in my early 20s. So I know that there's evil out there. I've seen it. Um, the one time I was doing readings over at Barzimon's Books, and they have those big windows, and the lady was sitting across from me, and she was trying to get away from her narcissistic husband, and I was telling her ways that she can bind him, properly so that she can get rid of him. Well, I felt like I needed to look to the corner of my eye, and I turned my head, and I saw this bald guy. He had all these tattoos, but what was weird about him is that his face was looking this way, like looking straight, but his face was also looking this way, like he had two faces, and it freaked me out. And I looked at her, and she looked at me. Her mouth dropped, and then she goes, "Did you see that?" And I said, "Yes." Well, as he starts walking on the other side behind me, through the window, he just glared at her. So there's evil all around. Like I was in Butte, Montana one time, and when I go to Butte in July, usually I go house to house and I do readings, and I sometimes will help people, cross spirits over that are in their houses. So, anyways, I was getting out of my car and I felt I needed to look, and there was this guy coming up. He might have been a young Native American guy, maybe in his 20s, mid 20s, but he has basketball, and he must have got done playing basketball. But he had this really pissed off look in his face, and as he was getting closer towards my car, as I was getting out, the black eyes, and it's not the only. I mean, I've seen other few other cases that were like that, and I passed too. So I, when I see that stuff and it's coming near me or if it's close to me, I say prayers really fast because I don't want it. I don't want it around me. I protect myself. You know, I'm not. It's scary, yeah, but I don't want it to know that I'm scared. And I take some deep breaths through my nose if I'm scared a little bit to calm myself down. I don't want it to know that I'm scared. I don't want it to know that energy. So I said try to avoid that stuff. That lamp that comes on Sunday, I think it might be automatic because I do have the lamps on there, so it might have been that. If your daughter loves scary movies, I mean, I love scary movies too. But that doesn't mean that I mean, it doesn't mean that I'm susceptible for something to come around me. I would probably say if she understands it and doesn't believe it's going to come at her, I think it's okay. I think a lot of that has to do with what you believe and what you feed into it. If that makes sense to you. If you feed into something, like attracts like. You're gonna have to explain that to her. I mean, you can watch some scary movies, but don't get so engrossed in it that you're feeding it. That you're giving it. You're giving it. You're feeding it. If that makes sense. Because what I mean by that is you're putting it out there and putting it out there. Yeah, something's gonna come around you, and you start believing that. You start thinking about that too much. Yes, I was born with these gifts. In fact, I've let's see. I want to say that it was more of a curse growing up than it was a blessing. And it's still both ways for me, I guess, if you want to call it that. I did a reading. I can't do readings on myself because I'm with my spirit guide. So I asked my spirit guide. I go, why am I? I go, why do I have this, and why doesn't anybody else have it? And I was told I'm chosen. Everything that happened in my life around me, all the bad things, experiences, the people who passed around me that I loved, all my close people, I had to experience all these things in order for me to have empathy to sympathize with other people, and it also runs through my bloodline. I'm also Native American. I am registered over at Little Shell, and my great great grandfather was Chief Big Bear, and his son was Chief Little Bear, who also formed Rocky Boy with Chief Rocky Boy that started Rocky Boy up there. And so they're really, I mean, so that the reservation up there is they always talk about my great great grandfather, Chief Big Bear. But there's a movie that's streaming, which is called Big Bear, and if you watch it, it's kind of sad because it's basically how the white settlement, the white um, government, the bound, would always manipulate the Native Americans, and kept trying to sign treaties. Well, my great grandfather wouldn't do it because he knew that if he did that, it would hurt his people. But at the same time, his people were hurting because the white men were killing off all the buffalo, and they needed that to survive. So they were kind of pushed towards Montana. They took my great grandfather and put him in the prison, cut his hair, and he almost died there. But during the movie, if you watch that movie, you'll see him. He communicates with the Great Spirit. He meditates, and then he talks, and then he gets the visions. And when I first seen that movie, it kind of, I mean, I was kind of blown away because I never, and I wonder if that, how accurate that was, because that's how I do it. I meditate, and then I'm able to connect. So I don't, and I believe there's medicine in that family that's really strong within me. Now the women in my family, I think, were mediums, but they don't talk about it. They don't know how to deal with it. They never knew how to use it. My mom was, my grandma. I know most of my aunts were. A few of the men in my family were too, because they always have anxiety, but they don't talk about it. I'm the only one that came out with it because I'm no, and what I meant by that is I finally took a spiritual development course and I got certified in it. But when I took it, it opened up things for me. I understood what the truth was, because a lot of that stuff that I took was all scientifically proven through the spiritual movement at that time, and it just made sense to me. And all of a sudden, I started, and I was starting to I knew stuff, and my teacher was getting upset because she said it took me 26 years to get to where I'm at, and it only took you 2 months, if that. But I've already had it within me. I just needed somebody to explain it to me. And so after that, this was my craft, and I just started going to doing what I did. I learned how to do automatic writing on my own. Nobody ever taught me. It's just that one day I was sitting there and my pen started like moving, and I was starting to get the images and the visions, and I'm like, okay, this is how it's supposed to go. And that's how I do it. But yeah, it was. I mean, I would probably say for me, it was chosen for me before I was born. My mom told me as a baby I'd always look up and something was always up there entertaining me. I was always looking up in the skies. I was kind of a weird kid, but my whole life I've always had visions. I've always seen ghosts. I've seen the good. I've seen the bad. Even with people, I can pick up on people. I pick up stuff really quick, and I try not to dwell on the negative stuff. But if spirit is giving me a warning about somebody, and I'm not really seeing it, and I'm picking up on it, then I'm going to keep my distance. There's so I and I think that's what goes a lot for a lot of people. I mean, you don't think you have to be a medium to be that way, but if you feel something, and you always trust your gut. You always trust your gut. If you're getting an image in your head, trust it. That's either your spirit guide or your family telling you something, warning you, whether it be do not be with that person or stay away from that person or warn somebody of something. But there are gifts that every one of us got within us. Some of us are not in tap with them. What age did it kick in full? I'd probably say maybe 5 or 6 years ago when I took that course, and it just I can't explain it. It got really strong within me, and I'm noticing the more I've been doing this kind of work over the years, the more my abilities become stronger. Like I just pick up on weird stuff. Like I could be in a group with people, and if my brother or my sister-in-law or my friends are near me, I'll say something. I'm like, well, that person, blah blah blah. It's not like I'm trying to pick up. Like I'm reading on them, but I just know stuff, and it's like sometimes it's not good, the stuff that I see and what I'm seeing. And I pick up on good stuff with people too, but it's hard to explain though. It's a gift, but it's also a blessing at times. It does warn me. It's draining. It's very draining. Um, when I do this kind of work, it does take a lot out of me. And when I'm saying a lot, I can feel it from the head down to my toes. It feels like your body's just has no energy, and it takes your life force out of you, is what it does. And some spirits take more energy out of me than others. It doesn't mean that they're bad spirits, it's just who they are. And they need that energy so that they can communicate with me. So the energy goes back and forth. But mostly, I think they're taking more out of me. If I'm having a long day, if I have time, I'll try to take a quick nap or close my eyes for a half hour, try to meditate, and then get my energy back, and then I'm up to do it again. But one of my friends told me, she goes, Paul, a lot of mediums don't live very long. And she goes, why do you think that is? And I knew what she was talking about. And I said, because when you do this kind of work, it takes out of you. I mean, it takes a lot out of you. It's not easy, and people look at it and they want to be mediums. I think it's really cool what they see on TV and on the internet. It's not what it seems, because it does take out of you. It takes a lot out of you, and relationships. If you have one, you have to make sure that that person's okay with what you do. If not, people are always going to be judging me. because they're going to say, oh, he's a medium. They think I'm a scam artist. They think of this or they think that. They think I'm, working for the circus or something. Everybody's got a thing what they think about what mediums always are, but we're not always the same. And so I'm always being judged. I mean, if you were dating a medium, would you be able to take that person home to your mom and dad and say, "Hey, this is my boyfriend. He's a medium." Especially if they're religious. So it's things like that, if that makes sense to everybody. So I kind of like, um, I understand all that, and there's other things that are negative with it as well. But the positives that come out of this is that I know I'm helping people, and I'm giving them, if they're grieving, if they're holding on to the pain for too long, I'm giving them that hope. I'm giving in, I'm validating to them who I'm seeing, that they know it's their loved one, and that's what I'm doing for them, and that keeps me going. And even these people that are missing, and I don't charge them, but if these people that are missing, I will do my best to give readings for my dogs here. I will do readings that I will do my best to give whatever I can. And I might not be 100% right, but at least I'll try to validate something to show that, this is what's going on. It says, here's some pictures or something, or this is where you need to go. But at least gives them hope. You know, as mediums, we're not going to always be able to solve everything. That's not what we do. All we can do is just show, where it's at, if that makes sense. But it's not for everybody. I've seen people take this course and they want to be mediums, and they still struggle to this day. They don't either trust the messages they're getting, or they struggle with it. And I think really good mediums, my opinion, are the ones who are born with it, and that's how I look at it. Anybody can be a medium. Yeah, they can take a course and be certified, but if you don't have that within you, that gift within you, I think you're going to struggle. And I've seen that plenty of times, and people may argue and fight with me over that, but that's how I've seen it. And the ones who are really good are the ones that are born with it, or the ones who died and came back and became and were mediums, if that makes sense. I believe that they're, because that veil has been lifted up. That's why I look at it. Everybody's got psychic potential. Everybody does. And if you want that psychic potential to be stronger, you have to do is learn to meditate every day. Meditation is very good spiritually, mentally, and physically. It's actually a really natural medicine that everybody should be learning to do instead of taking medicine constantly. If they learn to meditate, you'll be more happier every day. Meditation slows the brain down, which is the ego. Remember, I talked about that earlier. So you're not overthinking a lot and worrying. I used to be a worrier, but when I learned to meditate, yeah, it doesn't bother. I mean, it doesn't bother me anymore. And when you also understand that what we put out comes back to us. So when we're worrying, we're putting that energy out there. Yeah, we're gonna get what we're putting out. It's very true with that stuff. Yes, I am different. I can ask anybody in my family. I'm different, for sure. Yeah, I can sense when people around me who've got negative energy or positive energy. But there are some that have deceived me in the past. And the ones who have deceived me with that energy, in my opinion, I feel like they're wicked, evil. Narcissists are really good at that. I can pick up on a narcissist really quick. I mean, it's hard to explain if I know that they're in that. I guess it's like a wavelength or the energy I'm picking up. But narcissists, they can go from like, being vindictive to being really loving and caring. So if they can flip that really quick. And I have been deceived by narcissists before, but I don't go around judging people by what I'm getting either, because I've met some people where I've gotten some bad images or messages, but they turn out to be real good people too. So, but at the same time, if I'm getting something and I'm not asking for it, if I'm getting something and spirit is showing me, that's going to give me a red flag to figure out what's going on, what if I need to avoid that person or not. It's so true. And I was going to say, sorry. Yes, and the best mediums, I can always tell anybody, are the ones who are born with it. And I know people get mad at me when I say that, and people who think they're mediums that took this course, or born, or I mean that took any course that said they're mediums. I don't know if I trust it, because they always struggle, and it's like I feel bad for them because they paid all that money to take a course to be certified and they never use it. Because I believe also when you're born with this gift, there are certain lessons you have to learn, in life. Like, I mean, and they're hard lessons. They're not easy lessons. They're really hard. And I think that's part of that journey when you're a medium. If you're just going to become a medium, to, like I said earlier, to be cool and think it's easy, it's not. So again, I mean, a lot of people around me passed away, and then any medium that was born with this gift will tell you that. Like, it's just like everybody that you love that was so close to you, lovers, people, your family, all gone. And that's part of that. And then you have to learn how to you have to deal with a lot of loss, and the people you have to deal with tragedy. You have to deal with having a shitty upbringing. You have to deal with all that in order to understand people. I think this is what part of that you have to. Do narcissists stick with you after? I mean, sorry. Do narcissists stick with you years after you have nothing to do with them? Asking because I am times. Yes, narcissists will stick with you even when they die, and then I'll tell you why. Um, I've had people come to me saying my mom or my dad was a narcissist, but they keep coming to me in these dreams, screaming at me, yelling at me, or abusing me. And I said there, and I'll say, oh, so that tells me right there they didn't cross over. Because if you're crossed over, you don't do that stuff. So, and I'll tell people how to bind a narcissist, and it's just the simplest thing to do. What I do is, like, my stepmom, she's a narcissist, and I'll throw her name out anytime I can because I can't stand her. She's evil. So what I said was, my spirit guide told me because she kept messing with me in my head and I couldn't get rid of her. So he goes, "You need to bind her." And I go, "How do I do that?" And he goes, "This is what you do." So I said, "I bind the evil spirit that resides in Brenda Wolf in the blood of Jesus Christ." I said it 3 times in my head, and I had her image in my head, and I imagined that blood being poured on her, and just like that, it stopped. So it worked, and it worked for about 6 or 7 months, and she kept bugging me again. So I did it again, and she left me alone again. So a lady came to me one time in a reading, trying to get rid of her narcissist husband, and I think that it's a story I told about earlier. But I told her to do that. Well, a couple of weeks ago, she came back and she was happier and she just looked healthy. And I go, "What happened?" And she goes, "You won't believe what happened to me." And I go, "What?" She goes, "That binding spell you told me to use on him, it worked." And I go, "Tell me what happened." She goes, "He was on top of me, like ready to punch me. And he was calling me all these dirty names. And I thought, I remember what you told me. And I said it 3 times. And all of a sudden, I'd never seen anything so weird, Paul. He just stopped, like he stopped and he looked at me and he goes, 'Oh my God, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that.' And he changed. But that's when you bind somebody, it's only temporary. It's not going to take that evil out of that person, if that makes sense to anybody here. It's just temporary, and it's just enough to give you time. And I'll tell people, like, if they've crossed over and they're giving you those nightmares, those narcissists, use that binding spell, but it's only for so long, but they're going to come back again. They're It's like they have hooks on people. Like they talk about the snares of the devil. That's what, a narcissist, basically, that's what that is. They snare you right in. And once they have you hooked, all you can do is bind them. And that's all you can do to save your time. You can't get rid of them, not even in the next life. And that's a scary thing about them. It's demonic. And I can't, don't get me started on it. I'll go on forever with those people. I can't stand them. Is Reiki healing safe spiritually? I've had it done with me once, and I think it's safe. But again, ask that Reiki master to ask them where they're getting their if they're working with God, if they're using energy through God. Ask them if they're going to pray before and after. You always want to be safe. Bad concussion 30 years ago woke me right up. That's scary. If you're not a Christian, can you draw the David star and banish and say, "I banish you in the name of the highest power," and this push the star towards them? Yes, the Star of David is very powerful. Um, I would say yes. I mean, I never use it, but I would say yes because I know that the crucifix is very powerful. Would I say, like, the Saint Benedict medal is powerful? The Star of David is very powerful. Yes, I would say yes. I'm sorry about that, Darlene. That's scary. There's no cure for a narcissist. There's no cure for a narcissist. The only cure is for the person that's a victim of a narcissist, is to block them and get the hell away from them, and don't have no contact with them. If you want peace, it's beautiful out today. It's getting hot out here though. Yeah, maybe I'll do another video again about the narcissist. I go on about the narcissists, and I can go on and on about those evil people, and they don't like it when I do that because there's something in evil in these people, um, and they don't like it when I speak the truth. And so many people, they think what a narcissist is, it isn't what they think it is. A narcissist is a spiritual thing. It's also psychological, if that makes sense, and it tears families apart, and they enjoy doing that to people. Where do you get training like I had? I don't know. I got my training when I was in Billings. The lady that did it does not doing it anymore, but it's called spiritual development training. There might be courses online, or you can check to see if there's any in your town or close to you. And that might help. But if you're going to be doing that, if you're going to be taking that course, be ready for it because it's a very for me it was a very long course. I think it was an 8-month course for me to get certified in it, and I'm glad I took it though because that makes sense to what I'm seeing and what I'm experiencing. Now I can help people. Yeah, this kind of work is not for everybody. It's hard if it's a family member, if it's a narcissistic family member. I know it's hard, but if you want peace and you don't want them to keep messing with you and playing with you, um, that's the only thing a psychologist will tell you the same thing. You're going to have to ban them. You're going to have to block them. You can't be around them, and they will take you down. It's evil. They enjoy laughing at you. They enjoy talking about you and smearing your name. They enjoy keeping you separated from your loved ones. They don't care. That's a good question, Terry. Have you ever thought about teaching about the clairs? Maybe that's one thing I should do. That's part of that training I had, and I used to remember all the clairs. Like there's a clair sentence, there's clair, yeah, because there's different clairs which are like the senses, but there's a scientific name like clair. Like one would be like the nose would be a sense. Sorry, the nose, the ear. The taste would be one. Your yeah, there's different senses. Your energy. I got to look into that again. That's a good question. Maybe I should start. Maybe one of those times I should talk about that again. But that's a scientific term that the scientists have used. That's another thing that's also proven that people do have that the spiritual stuff. And also, it's interesting if you want your gifts to be stronger. I've taken that Condoleezza. I think it's called Condoleezza Rising or Condoleezza Rising. I can't remember how it can't. I always have a hard time with that. Conda Condoleezza something Condoleezza. Listen, oh yeah, I'm not good with that word, but anyways, it's kind of like a meditation you can get online, and you go through it. And what it does, if you listen to it, you follow what it's saying. It basically opens up any of your chakras that have been, not working, and it opens up so that way you're going to be open more to experience things that you haven't experienced before. And if I can remember that word again, I can't remember. It's like some like a little snake thing, and it's really creepy, but it's a bit more of an energy thing than that. But it does help. Hi, SMC. Do I think all Satanists are bad? I'm sure there's some good people. I don't like to judge people. I mean, I don't judge people what their belief systems are, but if you're doing bad to people, you're hurting people, you're harming people, then you're a bad person. That's how I'm going to judge people. If you're harming people, you're harming the nature, you're harming animals. Yeah, you're a bad person. And I might tell people that. But if you believe in what you believe in, that's cool. I don't care as long as it's not hurting anybody in the process. I don't care. Not everybody's belief system is always going to be right. I mean, I talk about my system, my beliefs, or I'll talk about my stories, but that doesn't mean that I'm always right either. I mean, I just that helps people learn. But I'm sure there's some good people out there that do believe in Satan. I don't know. I mean, if they're, I'm sure I've met people, but I've never, like, again, I don't ask people what their belief system is on the other side or this side. I mean, unless they want to volunteer it, that's not really my business. Sometimes I might ask them that because if they're trying to cleanse their house or something, and whatever works best for them, I try to use that method first, and then if not, we'll look for another method to try to cleanse your house. Do you get bad mosquitoes out by you? Yeah, and there's been a few of them that have been attacking me today. But I also think that there are some Catholics that are bad. I think that there are some Mormons that are bad. I think that there's some Protestants that are bad. I mean, I don't judge people on that stuff. I mean, everybody's got their own belief system. How I look at it is, if you're mean to animals, nature, or to people, you're a bad person. I mean, you can judge me for judging saying that, but I don't. That's how I look at it. It's just by people's, you know, judge. I mean, judging by what they're doing, not what they believe. You know, people don't. I'm being judged all the time because people don't believe what I do. I mean, I'm constantly being like, "Oh, you're this, you're that." It's whatever. Yeah, everybody's out there judging people all the time. But I've got to the point in my life where I wouldn't be where I'm at right now if I believed everything that everybody said. If I you know if I followed through and followed what they're doing, I wouldn't be where I'm at. I've always kind of been, there's a part of me that's always been, I rebel against people that try to change me. My family in Arizona, that narcissist family, always kept trying to change me. It ain't gonna happen. And I told them that. I go, you want me to be in this cookie cutter family, this Christian family? It ain't gonna happen. I go, I have my own beliefs, and so they mind games. It was like being in a cult. So like, yeah, it ain't gonna happen. Sorry, I gotta get out. I gotta get out of this family. Would I say revenge is hi Heidi? Would I say that revenge is a type of justice? I wouldn't. I wouldn't. My opinion, I wouldn't tell people to do it to seek revenge for justice, but there is, if you're going to do revenge, that is a sort that would be for some people a thing of justice, but I wouldn't do it because for me, I believe there is karma, and what we put out will come back in a different form, or it might come back in the next life. So I don't. I try to avoid that stuff. I mean, there are times where the human part comes to me and I want to revenge, but then I got to stop and think about stuff like, what makes me think. It's like, is it worth it? Is it worth it spiritually? Because I wouldn't do it. That's me though. Well, thank you, Terry. But if people want to do revenge and they feel that's right, I guess that's on them. But I won't judge them. I just, if you're going to hurt somebody intentionally, like just to be mean, to be evil to somebody, then you're an evil person. That's how I look at it. If you come home from work and you're abusing your dog, you're an asshole. Excuse language, or you're an abuser. You beat your wife, yeah, the same word I'm going to give you. Um, you slap your kids around, same word. And I don't put up with, as I got older, as I'm getting older, I just don't put up with a lot of people's BS anymore. And if you know me, notice how I am, if you guys notice my personality, I speak my mind a lot, and it does get me in trouble. And I have been banned off of Facebook because I tell people how it is, and I don't care. But that's one thing about being a medium is I've read somewhere that people that always seem to speak the truth always get in trouble, and that's sometimes that's a good thing. It's a bad thing, and it's hard for me to keep my mouth quiet at times. So, excuse me for that language earlier, but yeah, that's why I don't mean to. I don't want to judge people, but I look at them that way. You know, yeah, and I do say it like it is, and get people on those live feeds that have on Sundays. They're just, I don't want to say the word, but I want to. But you know what I'm talking about. Your religious freaks. You have your the know-it-alls, the um just I get all kinds of people on there. Which, but what they do is it's funny, and I call them out on it. I'm like, well, why can't you just message me privately? Why do you have to call me out in front of everybody? Because by doing that, you're trying to get other people against me, and that tells me that either you got mental illness or something's wrong with you upstairs. You're a narcissist. Get off my page. I can't deal with those kind of people. If you're gonna have an issue with me, message me and let's talk it out. Be man to man or woman to man. Be an adult about it. Don't be passive aggressive. That's bullcrap. But when I try to message them, they never message me back. So it just kind of tells you what kind of I want to say that word. It starts with the P with the wussy. So that's what kind of dumb people they are. And there are men and women like that. And I just like, what's wrong with you? Those are the kind of the people in school. Those are the bullies that they try to get other people with them to bully you. And I just won't let it happen. Yeah, the birds were singing a minute ago, and I thought it got all quiet. Maybe there's a cat in the neighborhood. Hi, Jed, Jadzia. So I hope I said your name right. Jadzia. Yes, and the more you separate yourself from all toxic family, the more you'll be happy. If your family can't accept you for who you are, and they're trying to change you into that cookie cutter family, I say F them. I'd give them a big old, middle finger. I mean, even if you've been trying to tell them, I'm not gonna change. That's just who I am, and they keep trying to, yeah, screw them. You got your own life. You don't have to live their life so that they can be happy. You make yourself happy. And that's one thing about this world is like, you know, you God put us here to be happy, to make ourselves happy. Certain, I'm sure you understand that. Just be happy, live your life. I don't think He wants you to live your life being under, a chain and ball under your family because they're controlling you or your relationships. I can't. I've dated people that try to control me too, and it didn't last very long. Not very long at all. I don't know if I've gagged when there was negative around me. I usually feel like want to I get nauseated when there's a lot of negative energy around me. And I feel bad for those people who are in those relationships that are physically and mentally abusive. I do, but but if you're in a relationship like that and you're allowing your kids to be abused, and you're not trying to help your kid, and you're still with that person, I can't. In just my opinion, I don't feel sorry for that person anymore, because that tells me that person's just as bad as the abuser. And maybe that's just me, but there's things that there's got to be other ways of getting out of that. It's not worth doing that to your kid. Your kid should always come first. No man, no husband, nobody. Your kid should always come first. And there's nothing wrong with being single. Some people need to be in relationships. That's fine. I won't judge them. And there's some people that don't. I mean, like me, I don't need a relationship to be happy. But if it comes, it comes. Do I believe that all paths of belief lead to the Creator? I just wrap my head around people condemned for what they believe. If I believe, in my opinion, is that if you believe in God, you believe in the light. That if it's of the light, then it's the truth. Whether it be Hindu, Buddhist, be Catholic, whether it be Judas, or Native American. I don't care what it is. If it's of the light, if it's of the Creator, then I believe. Then go for it. But I do believe that. I think that's why God has. That's why God. I think God likes variety. Look at the ocean. Like there's not none of the fish are ever the same. Our skin colors are never the same. Our height and our weights are never the same. Everything is different, but it's the same. But if that makes sense, I just think, in my opinion, when He made this earth, he liked His creation. He liked variety. He didn't like having the same things over like that. And I think that's why He likes other people worshiping Him differently. I don't, it's my opinion though. But I think anything of the light goes to Him, and it's of God. But that is my belief, and I've always hold on to that. Other people are different. They might look at it differently, and that's okay. I'm not telling people what my belief is right. I don't know, but that's how I look at things. And I believe what my belief is. Like I said before, if I believe it's the truth of the light, then I'm going to go with it. And I know a difference between witchcraft and the occult and things that I need to avoid for my spirituality. But I rather stay within the light. That's where I'm at. That's where my soul is. This is where I work with. This is my truth. Other people's truth may be different. I need to do the smudge. I'm afraid that I might not be that strong. Do you have any suggestions? If I'm not sure what that means. I mean, you mean like being prayerful and smudging? Um, oh, I feel like the same thing. Sometimes I am sensitive to nature too, and I know exactly what you're saying about how sensitive the earth feels, and sometimes you feel the earth is grinding underneath your feet. I've been in walks before, like in the forest or even in parks, and it sounds really strange, and I pick up on, and maybe I'm a hippie, what you want to call it, but there's days where I just automatically just pick up on it, like I can't explain it. I feel like it's all one, and sometimes I'll pick up on the energy of a tree or a bird, it just kind of freaks me out because I'm like, where was I just a second ago? So I know what that feeling is like. I know what that feeling is like. And just like I said earlier, we should always ground ourselves when we're outside, especially in your yard. Walk barefoot. It's important. If you have a spirit in your house, don't be afraid of it because it's probably, like I said, and I tell people this. I want you to be afraid so that it can. It's all about control and it's all about feeding off your negative energy. Smudge your house really good. Get the corners. Get over your bed. Get the closets. Anywhere that's dark. Again, like I told somebody on here earlier, get a spray bottle with a lot of salt, spray your walls. Just make it so uncomfortable for it that's got to go. But don't do it when you're scared. But you have to be a B word. Excuse me when I say that when you're doing this because it needs to understand that you're the boss, that you're that you own that land. If it thinks you're being too nice and you're just smudging it, it's not going to listen to you. So you have to be a B word, if that makes sense. And I can't say it on here. But when you're doing that, you're going to get that confidence back and you won't be scared. And just tell it to get the hell out and then do some prayers. Ask God to protect you. And the more you start doing that, the more you're going to get that confidence back and it's going to push it out. It's your energy that's going to push it out. If that makes sense. If your energy ain't there, it's not. It's going to laugh at you, and it's going to probably come back again. So You have to have that strong will to get it out and tell it to get the hell out and use some cuss words if you have to. But it needs to know that you mean business and tell it that it was never invited here and it's got to go. And say your prayers the way you pray, and have somebody with you if that helps. But yes, DA Chief has a good point too. Put cedar oil in water and spray it and keep the door open. If they get stuck, if you're smudging and nothing is open for it to leave. You're welcome, Heidi. Like people will ask me, Paul, can you come cleanse my house? And I'll go there. I'll go to their house, but I'll show them how to cleanse their house. And I'll say, I'll be right behind you. I might have the holy water. I might be doing some prayers or other things. But it's your intention with that, either you're smudging or with that salt water, whatever you're doing. You got to push it out. I can't push it out because this is your energy. This is your house. And you got to be the one to say, you can't be here. Because it's your castle. You got to take ownership of it, and you can't be nice when you're doing it. You have to be mean sometimes to show what you have to show what you're a boss. And, but that's how I do cleansings with people. I'll show them how to do it, and it also helps them in the future if something ever comes back and or they can help other people. That's how it usually is. That's how cleansing should be done. Is the person of that property of that house should be doing that, so they understand they can leave. How often do I smudge? I smudge almost every day, but not my entire house. I mean, when I'm doing phone readings, I'm smudging myself. My house is always cleansed. I don't have to worry about that stuff. But there are times like I went to that, what do you call it? As that There was a spiritual fair here, and there were people doing tarot cards and stuff. So I went to this lady, even though she was good and she prayed and everything. I had my smudge stick in my car, and I still smudged myself. I don't know because I don't know. I mean, I always want to protect myself. I just want to make sure if any negative energy is around me, get it off me. I don't want nothing coming home with me. I don't want nothing around me. But when I'm smudging before I do my readings, that's usually the time I do my prayers as well. As being Native American, when you're praying, that's that smoke goes up, and we're told that it goes up to heaven or prayers. So it's part of my rituals when I'm doing my prayer before I do my prayers when I do on smudging. I've heard that like some people that keep dead flowers is a bad thing or it's a bad omen. I don't think it's a bad thing. I mean, people look at things differently. I mean, if you're, I don't understand. I do understand when people say if you keep something dead in your house, you're keeping that energy around or something. I don't know if I believe in all that stuff, but I think it's the person's intention. If they like the flowers or if those flowers give that person a good memory, that's I wouldn't say that's a bad thing. I mean, maybe they're holding on to it because of like their loved one gave them those flowers to say I love you. If that makes sense, that's the intention. If you're keeping that intention on those flowers, and that's what it's about. Same with skulls or weird stuff like that. People will say, "Well, don't keep those in your house because it's bad." Well, it's only bad if you feed into it. Like I said earlier, if you keep that intention to it's evil, yeah, you can bring it to your house. If that makes sense. If some people like skulls and they like to decorate, that's cool. That's their thing. But if you're using it for something like that and you're fearing it and you're putting that energy into it, you might be calling that back into you. So I mean, it depends on people's intentions. Like I said, and it's everything that we put out can come back to us. It's just the laws of I can't remember what it's called. The laws of I remember. I'm not good with remembering stuff, you guys. I swear, I do so many readings that I think it messes with my memory. And that is true. He says he uses the salts. I'm sorry. This person says I use salt soap every day when I bathe, and they say that spirits can't cross water or interrupt with the energy from flowing water. Yeah, I agree with that. Flowing water is an energy, and that energy, if it's a waterfall or if it's just a current, they can't cross it. Um, you don't really hear many spirits hanging out on water or near water, and if they do, though I believe the water is probably stagnant. It's not very moving very much. Now, salt water is very cleansing. All the way through generations, thousands of years, even the Romans knew about this salt and how cleansing it is. And it's just it cleanses. It takes negative, it purifies, and same with negative energy. It's been known to, and it keeps negative energy away, negative spirits away as well. And salty water is the best thing, and I tell people. For me, I take Epsom salt baths at least once a week because I have to clear my aura. Everybody's got an aura, and my aura, with all these spirits and people I communicate with all the time, it sticks with me, and that can interrupt or mess with things later on in my day or my life or whatever. So I want to make sure that my spiritual hygiene is also cleansed as well. Now I can also cleanse my aura with smudging myself, which I do sometimes. But I'm normally once a week does do like the salt water, and I use those salt rocks that are really big that you can get. And after some weird readings I get sometimes, and I get weird energy, I'll rub my skin or my clothes with that all over, even my head, my face a little bit back here. I just get over like a piece, like you think of like a salt, and I just go all over my body, even on my clothes, because I don't want anything on me. And sometimes I'll carry a salt rock in my pocket when I'm out doing readings as well, because if there's anything negative that wants to be around me, it's going to be repelled from that salt that's in my pocket as well. So the salt is very protective. There's a lot of things in this earth that we don't think can protect us from certain energies or certain spirits, but they're all out there. Smud, um, smudging all the there's different so many herbs and things like that that we can pick up from nature that can actually repel negative spirits. Certain rocks, um, salt, even the sun. Many times, darkness likes darkness. They hate the sun. There's just things. If you look around nature around you and you look into this stuff, you'd understand that these things were always out here before we were born, thousands or hundred years ago. And our ancestors knew about this because they were talking to probably the great creator, and he was giving them this information to help them to protect themselves. And that's what I believe. It's because all that stuff has been out there. The drums. The Native Americans have their drums that they pray with, and they worship God with that. And same with, and it's also healing. The shamans also use those in Africa. With those people over thousands of years. Now, how did they know to use that up here up North America? I think it was a tourmaline. I think it may have been not the tourmaline. Yeah, I think it was a tourmaline. Many shamans in different continents all knew about the tourmaline. They always seemed to wear it around their neck for, I mean, thousands of years. But how would they know that unless they're all crossing these continents? I mean, I mean, how does that happen? So they're getting all the information from somebody. I know that they're getting their information from somebody, and it's to heal their people, to help their people keep going. I believe that certain, like some spirits do struggle with the wind. I do believe in that. I do. Hi, Mary. No, I was when I was at the beach in Florida a couple of weeks. I was thinking about this. You know, like the sand and how salty it is, and how the ocean's all salty. And I wonder if that also repels. I never did a reading on it, but I was always wondering if that would repel, certain spirits from that area as well. Can people have more than one aura? I mean, one color in the aura, yes. And usually, what that means is that when I've seen people like when I concentrate and I can concentrate and I can see the auras once I concentrate. Like if there's something like for instance, if I'm seeing if they're all yellow or green or something, if there's something purple or dark right here, that would say there's some kind of inflammation going on with them. Or it could, or right here in their heart, it means that maybe they lost somebody, a breakup, or they lost somebody that they loved. That could be also showing up on there. So different wherever that area is where the like usually an aura if you get a scan or somebody tells you your aura your color, but there's something that's like a abnormal I can't say it, abnormal like a different color that would just say that needs to be looked into. Like it could be inflammation, it could be a disease or something needs to be taken care of. Does repeating number signs, um, a number sign our guides are around? Yes, that's how they communicate with us if we're not open to it. And people ask me, what does this sign? I mean, what does this number mean? What does this number mean? I don't know what every number means, and then I don't go into my psychic and connect all the time because it's draining. I tell people just go online and double check, and there's so many things on there that will tell you what it means. I do it too sometimes, but yeah, they're here. They do that to teach to help you to keep you on track. And yes, your aura does change. Because it depends on what's going on in your life. Depends on where you're at, how your health is, where your spirituality is, and it will change. All right, you guys, I've been on here for like an hour and a half, but thank you guys for coming on. If you haven't subscribed, just subscribe below, and that way, I'll try to do this more often, just to come on and try to answer questions that I normally don't on my Facebook. Because when I'm doing my lives, people ask me these questions, and I can't stop to do them all the time because it makes me have to stop and think about it when I'm in the middle of reading. So it kind of confuses me. So this is what I'm going to try if I'm bored or if I have that free time, I will try to do this a little bit more. But thanks you guys for coming and just subscribe down below. And if you guys, I'll try to do this. I don't know when I'll do it again. Hopefully soon. I just it's kind of like one of those sporadically things. Like if I have that time and I'll think about it, I'm like, yeah, I'll go do a YouTube channel. But you're welcome, you guys, and I'll try to do this more if I can. Thanks for coming by. You guys are awesome.